Michigan homes are being destroyed by ice. In April, from the outside in, the wind is driving sheets of ice off the lakes and into the living rooms of people who never flooded before. 40 counties under a state of emergency. Dams pushed to the brink. Crews racing to save the Cheboygan Lock and Dam complex. The dam held. The homes upstream of it didn't. And right now, the ice is still on the lake. More rain is in the forecast. The water hasn't finished arriving. Imagine you're standing on the west side of Black Lake. It's April 19th. The lake is well above summer level, well above winter level. The breakwalls that normally stop the ice are underwater. The wind comes off the surface, and the thing moving toward your house at window height, at wall height, at the roofline, is a sheet of ice several miles wide. Christopher Narcisian, a lifelong Black Lake resident, described what that looked like to the Associated Press, smashing into homes and taking them out, just leveling them. The story the national coverage kept telling was about the dam, but the worst damage never reached the dam. It was along the shoreline of the lakes. The dam was built to hold back. The Cheboygan County Sheriff's Office posted a line on Facebook last week that described what the county actually looked like. Black Lake, Black River, Cheboygan River, Burt Lake, Mullet Lake, the Sturgeon River, and nearly every waterway in the county had overflowed beyond their banks. What should be familiar shorelines were now unrecognizable expanses of water. All of that water had one path out to Lake Huron. It ran through the Cheboygan complex. The dam held, but none of that mattered to the ice. It was already moving across the lake before the water finished rising. Brett Trepanier, president of the Black Lake Association, told reporters on April 22nd that the lake had peaked more than 5 feet above its summer operating level, more than 7 feet above its winter level. At the peak, all 3 dams were drawn down to their floors. Trepanier put it plainly. We were running wide open at that time. There was nothing more we could have done to alleviate this. That is the condition that made the ice behave the way it did. By April, lake ice is usually breaking up on its own, softening on the surface, cracking along the seams, melting where it sits. Wind can push it toward shore, but breakwalls and shoreline topography catch it. Patrick Back, meteorologist at the National Weather Service office in Gaylord, Michigan, explained the mechanism in 10 words to the AP. The fact that the water was so high, the ice had more room to travel. With the break wall submerged, the ice was still a solid sheet and the wind had somewhere to push it. What arrived at lakefront homes was not chunks. It was a solid surface, wind-driven, pressing against whatever was in the way. Narcisian described sheets of ice pushed as high as rooftops. Jennifer Wallengour, whose family owns property on Mullet Lake, told reporters the ice at her mother's place arrived within 4 minutes once the wind turned. It demolished a gazebo, a deck, pressed against the foundation and the chimney. On the west side of Black Lake, where the ice hit hardest, some homes may not be salvageable. Trepanier said the ones that took the ice to the front are probably going to be torn down. The ones that only flooded are going to be doing a lot of remodeling. A bridge on the west side needs to pass inspection before vehicles can even resume crossing it. Some residents may be weeks away from reaching their own properties. Cheboygan County Emergency Manager Jeremy Runstrom confirmed on April 22nd that the county is not in the recovery phase. It is still in the emergency response phase. Narcisian summed up the insurance situation without being asked. Most people don't have any help. Coverage. Flood insurance was never necessary. No one's ever seen this here. It's a lot. But the Cheboygan complex got the national coverage because it was the largest structure at risk. It was not the only one. Governor Gretchen Whitmer activated the State Emergency Operations Center statewide on April 14th. A small private dam at Bucks Pond failed entirely on April 13th. Another small dam failed in Alcona County. Seepage was detected at Bel Air Dam. The Homestead Dam in Benzie County came close to failing and required emergency reinforcement. Evacuations were ordered near the Croton Dam on the Muskegon River. Alverno Dam is the one that mattered most for Black Lake specifically. It sits on the Black River immediately upstream from the Cheboygan complex, and during the emergency, sinkholes formed at its base. Crews packed them with bentonite clay, while the Cheboygan structure was still holding water less than 5 inches from the crest. Patrick Ertel, Michigan DNR Incident Management Team spokesman, explained what Alverno was actually doing during the peak, catching ice. Ice from Black Lake is not going to make it down to the Cheboygan River. It will be held up. 2 marine vessels were deployed to break up ice chunks on the Cheboygan River itself. A large ice chunk had already snapped the safety cable across the Cheboygan complex on April 9th. The event that triggered the initial DNR access closures before most of the national coverage even started. Brett Trepanier framed the cumulative pressure in one sentence. In 13 months, we had the ice storm. Then we had 30-some inches of snow. Now this. The emergency response at Cheboygan worked because a narrow set of people did the right things in a narrow window of hours. And each of those decisions came with a cost the state ended up absorbing. Approximately 75 Consumers Energy workers operated on site alongside the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, Detroit District. Richard Hill, co-leader of the DNR Incident Management Team, described what the turbine restart involved. Rewiring circuits, testing machinery that has been idle for years, and connecting the power station to the grid. The turbine had been offline since a September 2023 fire at the adjacent paper mill. Federal regulators had spent 2 years trying to compel the private owner to restore it. In August 2025, the owner's attorney told FERC the company no longer intends or desires to operate the hydroelectric machinery. Therefore, the cost the state absorbed was not just the repair. It was performing legally required work under emergency conditions that the private license holder had formally refused to do. At the same time, 16 large capacity pumps were running alongside the turbine. Crews with cranes removed floodgates to open additional flow paths. An aquadam went in along the top of the structure to raise its effective crest. Homes on Black Lake's west side were being evacuated that same weekend. U.S. Customs and Border Protection officers were on Black Lake on April 17th, searching for flood victims. That is the list of what was happening across a single county. Every one of those things in the same window of hours. The last time a Michigan dam arrived at a flood with documented unrepaired deficiencies, it broke. Edenville Dam, Tittabawassee River, Midland County. May 19, 2020. The Federal Energy Regulatory Commission had revoked its operating license 2 years earlier, specifically because the structure could not pass the probable maximum flood. The dam stayed in place anyway, and the repairs were still unfinished when the water arrived. The embankment gave way at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Wixom Lake emptied in hours. 10,000 people evacuated. Downtown Midland flooded under 10 feet of water. The forensic engineering report that followed used one word to describe the cause. The difference between Edenville in 2020 and Cheboygan in 2026 was hours of response time. And who was available during those hours to absorb the cost of what the regulatory process was supposed to have done over a decade? The emergency action plan at Cheboygan is still active. 9 more inches of water have to recede before it deactivates. The Cheboygan Dam held. Bucks Pond went. Alcona went. Bel Air is leaking. Homestead needed hands on it. Croton needed bodies moved out. The homes on Black Lake's west side, the ones that took the ice, are being assessed for demolition. There is a particular kind of damage that a connected watershed produces. When every part of it overloads at once, one where the headline infrastructure holds, because concentrated emergency response keeps it standing, where the smaller structures fail, or nearly fail because they do not get the same response, and where the worst destruction happens outside all of it, where no dam was ever supposed to be protecting anything. The ice has not melted. The homes that took it are being assessed for demolition. More rain is coming. The Cheboygan Dam held. The shoreline never needed it to fail. The water never needed the structure to fail to destroy them. It just needed the wind to pick up and the ice to float. If this story is worth telling, subscribe. We cover more of these every week.